kind of. Yeah. So,
Now, if you do what you think's right,
we have to. And that's what I
when you start living, do what other people tell you to do, and you'll start living slave. That's what I hope.
And we'll deal. Yes, we should.
don't need to have different
Here we got a phone. You hungry?
Get a cookie, but
Father, do it.
this will work. So
There's all kind of commissioners. Yes, sir.
Say what?
So it's not going to be a small bar in my house there.
Please, it's going to be.
No, I don't like to drink, but I will do it.
Okay. Maybe questions there.
Didn't ask you ever have him say Davis for pilot?
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a skin catcher.
I thought you got hurt.
Looks like it.
Somebody got it.
You decide. That's what you're meeting. You decide.
I mean, I'm
No, I appreciate it.
okay.
Assuming they're going to get some kind of
Some kind of what? I thought it
Good evening, everyone, and I want to welcome you to the August 12th, 2024 meeting of the Rome City Commission. And we start off every meeting with the invocation and pledge to the flag. Tonight, I'm going to ask Commissioner Wayne Robinson, if he will, to have that honor. And then fire.
If you don't mind, if you'd stand and join us. Lord, thank you so much for bringing us all here safely tonight, and thank you for the ability to meet, to discuss, and to make decisions. Even though we know sometimes it's hard to make the right decisions, we make it based on what we know and the knowledge that we have. So just be with us tonight as we make decisions for our city, for the growth of this city, for the good people of this city. But let us know that all decisions that we make is to totally honor you. So we ask all these things in your blessings. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. Clerk, if you will, call the roll.
Sir. Mayor McDaniel,
Here.
Commissioner Bojo,
Here.
Brock, here, Cochran,
Here.
Beeman,
Here.
Doss,
Here.
Quick,
Here.
Collins,
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
You all received the minutes of the July 22nd, 2024 meeting, and we will approve those by common consent. We have no proclamations tonight. We have a number of guests. I'm going to ask Commissioner Randy Quick if he will. He has some certificates that he needs to read. he'll come forward, and when he calls your name, if you will, please come forward.
First off, let's do our certificates of appreciation. People that have been of great service to the city of Rome and are very, very dedicated public servants. The first is Jake Hager. Jake, this is an appreciation for your dedication and outstanding service on the Rome Historic Preservation Commission, and we appreciate all you do because you truly are service above self. Next, I'd like to bring David Klontz up. And David, this certificate of appreciation comes to you for your dedication and outstanding service on the Rome Historic Preservation Commission. And you said something to me in the hallway coming up as to how this commission relates to another committee. Say that again.
Okay, well, I was telling Randy on the way up the stairs, I said that the Historic Preservation Commission protects our past in our town, and the Board of Adjustments protects the future. And it's fun to have a perspective from both ends of that and see how Rome changes and evolves as time goes on.
Very dedicated public servant. Let's give a big round of applause to Mr. David Klontz. And next is Hilda Curtis with us. She's not with us. We have a certificate of appreciation for her outstanding service as well. Now we've got certificates of appointment. And if I could get Julia Wagasback to join me. Julie, I am delighted to give you a certificate of appointment because you have now been appointed to serve as a member of the Rome Historic Preservation Committee for the term of July 22nd, 2024 to June 30th, 2027. This appointment is made because of your dedication to the cause of good government, your contributions to your community, and your willingness to serve your fellow man, and you preserve the past. Thank you and congratulations. Kaylee Schroeder. Kaylee, you too have been appointed to serve as a member of the Rome Historic Preservation Commission for the term of July 22nd, 2024 to June 30th, 2027. And this appointment is made because of your dedication to the cause of good government, your contributions to your community, and your willingness to serve your fellow man. Congratulations, you now preserve the past. And is Jamie Palmer here? We will issue his certificate very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Quick. We have a number of registered guests with us tonight, and we'll start off, and when you come to the podium, give us your name and your address. You'll have 3 minutes, and our city clerk will keep up with the time. And first, we have Cameron Abney. Is Cameron with us?
I think she was down for an appointment or certificate.
Kaylee Schroeder?
No,
That's the certificate.
yeah.
Oh, these are all.
Skip down to B.
Okay. Jesse, I know you're here.
I'm in no rush. I appreciate the time. My name is Jesse DeMummery Chapman. I live at 17 Benvenue Drive in East Rome. I'm here on behalf of Coosa River Basin Initiative to speak about the location of the future reverse osmosis drinking water facility. Ever since the announcement of this facility, I've mostly remained neutral on the location, and as time has gone on, I have developed, and CRBI has developed an opinion, and I would like to share just some thoughts that we have had internally. I believe that there are a number of reasons why Riverside Parkway makes a lot of sense in terms of engineering, economics, consistency with surrounding land usage. And I want to add to that a couple of things from the perspective of our organization. First up, the actions that this governing body undertook to launch that project represented, in my eyes, tremendous decisive leadership and an enormous amount of bravery. Before we had any idea what was going to happen with a lawsuit, before we had really any money in the bank to pay for it. As somebody who thinks that our drinking water resources for industry and for residential consumption are a critical asset for a community, I've spoken openly about how much I value the leadership of this governing body in that effort. To me, siting that plant within view of the source water tells an incredible visual story. And I think we're in a situation where we are going to be faced with a very Kevin Costner Field of Dreams situation. When we build it, folks will come. And I think that we have an opportunity to locate this facility in a location that tells a compelling story on the banks of the source water, where people from across the country are going to want to see the results of the decisive leadership of this community, and stating very clearly that this clean water is a top priority and the future growth of this community is very important. Second, and only slightly behind that, is for environmental work. I think Keep America Beautiful folks would agree with me. One of our chief difficulties is public education. And far too often, our critical infrastructure is placed out of sight. Now, there's a good reason why we don't have a landfill in the middle of downtown or our wastewater treatment plant in the middle of downtown. But this represents an opportunity for us to put an attractive drinking water, technologically advanced plant right there next to park resources. And in siting that plant at that location, we could put this critical resource front of mind for this community. When we have all of our critical infrastructure tucked away, we run the risk of creating this magical thinking that our trash just disappears. When we flush, it goes into a void. And when we turn on the tap, magic is what creates this water. Riverside Parkway gives us the opportunity to put this front and center and really drive that point home for the community. And I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Wright.
Hey, Ken Wright, P.O. Box 324, Silver Creek, Georgia. What I'm left with after a week of researching PFAS and reverse osmosis is citizens will still have PFAS in their bodies with risk of increased exposure from other sources. First, we should take a portion of the settlement money, test those potentially exposed, and provide compensation to those affected, even if it's $400 a person. 50,000 residents would be $20 million. You still got $180 million. I do believe we should try to remedy the exposure from our drinking water moving forward, but with ongoing technologies emerging, now is not the time to commit to reverse osmosis. I don't fully understand why this plant should take more than 24 to 30 months to complete, and the EPA requirements go into effect in 2029. Sorek, Israel is home to the world's largest reverse osmosis plant. It processes 168 million gallons per day instead of 18 million gallons per day and supplies their national water system at a cost of $400 million. It's the largest RO plant in the world, and it began in 2011 and was completed in 2013, so 2 years. I also contacted Santa Monica, California, Clara City, Minnesota, Stewart, Florida, Cape Coral, Florida, as well as Singapore Water Authority, and that either have RO systems and some are pursuing RO systems. All but one of these systems was completed in less than 36 months, and only one costs more than the Rome plant that's being proposed. To be fair, I know supply chain issues and driving lengthier timelines and inflation has exponentially increased cost. The new EPA requirements may potentially be changed and or eliminated, as has happened with EPA requirements that are unattainable and typically change with the political party in power. I say this because every water authority that contacted me back said, this is impossible. No water purification system on the planet can meet 4 parts per trillion. So just to relate that, if every water system I've said, and reverse osmosis is apparently the best, it's 99.94% accurate. That means you can have 600 million parts of PFAS in your water out of a trillion and be 99.94% accurate. So if you can't meet their exception, why are we spending the money? Okay, it would be imperative to treat all the water sources as well, Etowah and the Oostenaula, or jointly as the Coosa River. The exception to that decision would be to eliminate the rivers as a drinking water source in its entirety. Drilling wells may make sense, since that eliminates contamination upstream from our rivers. Let's see. Oh, the World Health Organization this year said, which I take with a grain of salt, they issued a statement saying that drinking water produced by reverse osmosis is not suitable for long-term human consumption because it removes minerals and things like that. Now, Brian did confirm me that they will be keeping the minerals and nutrients in the water, but that's something to consider. Prolonged consumption of reverse osmosis water can also cause stomach problems and kidney disorders and a magnesium deficiency, as reported in Czech Republic and Slovakia. Many sources state that reverse osmosis does not remove organic compounds, bacterial microorganisms, chlorine byproducts, carbon dioxide, methane, radon, pesticides, solvents, and volatile organic chemicals. Next thing is it cheaper to install home reverse osmosis systems in every residence and business in Floyd County? May sound silly, but the home reverse systems, which are also 99.94% accurate, and that would be at the end user, cost anywhere from $400 to $1,000. According to the internet, and Brian said, yeah, it costs $400 to install them now. But still, even if it's $1,000 for 50 residencies and business, you're $50 million, you're not at $200 million. Anyway, there's not enough information yet, I believe, to make the best intelligent solution, so don't rush into a bad decision. Thank you.
Brandon Pledger. Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Brandon Pledger, and I live at 36 Pippin Place in Armuchee. I'm here today to talk about the small bore ordinance, which we have all seen come to light here in the last few months. When I applied for my first variance last year in March and an amendment in September of last year, Commissioner Collins stated something, and I'm going to paraphrase because he had more time than I do. Businesses allowed to operate when it comes to alcohol should be treated fair and accurately and equally across the board if they can meet the requirements under our current ordinance. As we look at this new poorly written ordinance, fair and equal are missing, a fundamental failure in many aspects of government within our country. This ordinance has failed twice, and with minimal changes, here it comes again. It has been written in contrary to many of the recommendations of the Alcohol Control Commission. Variances were discussed by the ACC, yet this ordinance has nothing to grandfather, benefit, or accompany businesses currently opening under a new ordinance, only to serve to categorize as small bar, hopefully, though we neither meet the operating requirements nor the square footage under the current ordinance, or the proposed ordinance at the Alibi. I've been told by several commissioners that I've talked to, we will still do what's right. However, with no offense implied to some of you ladies and gentlemen, trust the government will do the right thing are deadly words in this country, and especially to any individual or business. I give no hope or trust to an individual or entity to do what's right or show the moral fortitude or prudence to do so in the absence of written laws and regulations. If we as a community are willing to accept all these concessions when it comes to a ratio, reduced calculations for your ratios, variances, or the small bar ordinance, maybe instead of creating new laws, we should look at the ones that we currently have and look at changing those to make everything fair and equal across the board. Again, to quote Commissioner Collins, according to many that I've spoke to, business owners, neighbors, and commissioners, my business and businesses like mine should gain nothing but benefit from the ordinance. Yet here we stand saying no the loudest. I will ask each and every one of you to vote no on the small bar ordinance. Thank you for your time.
Nidra Manners.
I'm Nidra Manners, and I live at 622 East 12th Street here in Rome, Georgia. And I also wanted to talk about the small bar ordinance. And I'm here as a concerned citizen. I do have a business. It's not a bar. And I'm not opposed to bars. That's not why I'm speaking. But I do have a question, and my concern is that any time that we make a change in anything that we do here in Rome, Georgia, it should be because it's to improve downtown Rome, Georgia. And I guess I'm not convinced at how this can improve downtown. I agree things need to be fair across the board to all the different businesses that have bars in town, but I just don't see how this is going to improve downtown. I have an image in my head when I was a child. I used to come to Rome, Georgia, and I went to Chattanooga. And the image that I have is that downtown Rome was full of bars, and on the corner of every street, there was a package store. And I guess we just now are trying to clean up the vape shops that are downtown. And I think we're trying to do something to make it easier for businesses. And yes, it should be easy, but it should be fair. But we already have things in place. And I think we need to improve those instead of trying to change those. I do want to read a quote that was in the paper because on Saturday, the Rome had the article about how downtown Rome accreditation as an exceptional main street was reaccredited. And I think that's something that we want to keep. And the quote in here is from Ondi, and she says, as we look to the future and plan for eagerly anticipation of growth, our commitment remains the same to foster an environment that supports our local businesses, enhances the quality of life, and I think that's pretty profound, for our citizens and creates memorable experiences for our visitors. So I'm not quite sure why trying to change this is going to do what's in that quote and keep us as an exceptional city. Thank you.
Steve Smith.
My name is Steve Smith. I'm representing Harvest Moon Cafe and the full-service restaurants downtown, 234 Broad Street. I'd like to thank Brandon for his comments and Nidra for hers in opposition of this small bar ordinance. I'm going to echo a few comments that I've made prior to this commission at different times, speaking about similar ordinances, and just pleading with you all about how fragile full-service restaurant economies are. As I stated and as I wrote to each of you commissioners at the first reading, the National Restaurant Association puts numbers that 80% of startup small restaurants will fail within their first year. More than that will fail within 5 years. We operate on margins. When we are successful, we operate at margins that are 3 to 5% pre-tax profit. Absolutely critical to full-service restaurants is that alcohol component. Most of us that are in the full-service downtown, I'm just echoing what my peers are saying. I have Jeremy here with me tonight. Anthony couldn't make it. Eric Tant's over there. All of us know how vital that piece of business is for us. I'd like to echo some of the comments about Ondi and the great job that the DDA has done with downtown and the vision that they are working toward. A special meeting was called about a week ago, and she invited opposition and in favor. We had a couple of commissioners there. Thank you, Commissioner Robinson and Commissioner Quick. We had the city clerk, who always does a great job presenting actual facts. Ondi herself presented some basic facts. There's a lot of grassroots talk about how Rome is somehow antiquated or behind the times because we don't have bar-only concepts. That is simply factually false. The overwhelming majority of municipalities across the state of Georgia are still operating at 50-50 ratios. We believe as full-service operators, we'd like to see maybe a couple more full-service operators come downtown and be successful. On my block alone, to the best of my recollection, in under a decade, over a dozen restaurants have opened and failed in one block downtown. I think if you spread that around the city, you will see how difficult it is downtown to operate a small, full-service restaurant. These small bars don't aspire to hire any employees. They don't aspire to draw tremendous traffic. I'll echo Andi also made some comments at that meeting about the fact that her number one request that she gets from people who are making suggestions for her and her team is more dining establishments. Almost no one is asking for more bars. The bar component for full service is just it's just a key element of the success of our businesses, and we ask that you protect it. I don't have anything more to add.
Thank you. Melvin Scott. Give us your name and address, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Melvin Scott, my address is 111 Thornwood Drive, Rome, Georgia, 30165. Just real quickly, this journey for me started out as an investment in a business and a place I can enjoy in my retirement. Just as old Mr. Wright used to sit in the Wright bonding, I saw myself sitting in that same place in my retirement years. However, I landed in the middle of a yes or no to a small bar ordinance. My position is I went before the ACC with a request for wine, beer, and pouring variance, with a variance of a cigar, a proven variance, a variance that had been in existence for over 20 years. Oh, Havanas. A cigar, just those who don't smoke, a cigar typically lasts an individual 30 to 45 minutes. We consume our food faster than that. Most of those who enjoy a cigar, their drink lasts the length of the cigar. So a cigar bar does not introduce shots and quick drinking. If you visit the establishment in which I opening, you see it's done with class. It is called elevation for a reason. Not only to elevate individuals, but also to introduce more elevation to Rome. The ACC voted yes, unanimously. And I'm asking this commission that when we get, which I hope we get to a variance of a cigar bar or a cigar variance with elevation, cigar house, that you take in consideration the proven establishment that we have had over 20 years. My establishment is no different. We have restaurants here that serve excellent food. Matter of fact, in my Airbnb, there's a list of those to go visit. We have another excellent cigar bar, which is Havana, which I visit all the time. Enjoy it after I've eaten at restaurants in Rome. All I'm asking is, I don't know, I somehow landed in this small bar thing. All I'm asking is for the variance to operate my business that has been proven for over 20 years. For those who enjoy the food of downtown can also enjoy the wonders or the delightfulness of those who smoke cigars. Thank you for your time.
Christy Meyer.
Excuse me, I didn't prepare for tonight. I didn't know I was speaking. I did sign up. My name is Christy Meyer, and I live at 644 Reynolds Bend Road, Rome, Georgia, 30161, in case you didn't know. I own Honey Cream Artisan Gelato downtown, so my interest in downtown has something to do with variety and charm of our downtown. So I'm speaking to the small bar ordinance. We moved here with the intent of making our city a better place because we wanted to live in it and we wanted to enjoy it. And my husband always speaks about balance, And I believe the small bar ordinance, I'm not sure of the intent, but I believe the intent is to create balance. And if we meter the bars, we help prevent our city from being overtaken by bars. That's what I believe this is for. I want to see a thriving downtown where families want to visit. And so my personal input on it is that I wouldn't like to see this ordinance changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's all of the registered guests that we have tonight. I appreciate you coming. If you only came to speak tonight and you would like to leave, we'll give you a couple of minutes to leave. If you want to stay, none of this stuff is exciting unless you really have a vested interest and want to stay. We appreciate your interest in the business of the city of Rome. We have no resolutions tonight. Back in. We have a number of items on first reading. I'll call on our city clerk.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, our first item on first reading is a street closing ordinance, and this involves Medical Drive. You all started this process several weeks ago with the adoption of the resolution. That's been advertised, and so now the ordinance is back for first reading, and we'll plan on voting on that 2 weeks from tonight. The other three items come to us from the Planning Commission. First being a special use permit request for a duplex and a low-density traditional residentially zoned property at 101 Piedmont Avenue. And the Planning Commission has unanimously recommended approval of that request. The next item is a rezoning request for property located at 202 East 11th Street. The request is to rezone from community commercial to high-density traditional residential. This one also comes to you with a unanimous recommendation for approval. The final item is a rezoning request for 3 Orlistes Drive, and the request there is to rezone from multifamily residential to low-density traditional residential. And again, that one comes with a unanimous recommendation for approval. All three of these items will be scheduled for a public hearing 2 weeks later.
Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda, our second readings, and we have our small bar ordinance. And I will call on Commissioner Wayne Robinson.
Mayor, we have tonight a small bar ordinance that we're bringing forth. The ACC has brought it forth, and since this has been put on the docket, there's been a lot of discussion on various sides of this, and we feel like at this point, this ordinance is not ready to be voted on. We would like to table this and bring it back to the ACC for more definition of the possible, on the ratios, on the fees, on various aspects of the small bar, to get more definition, to bring some things back to maybe the Downtown Development Authority to be involved in this in some manner, the policing of it,
I'm going to ask our city attorney, if he will, to give us some guidance.
If there's a motion to table, if there's a second, then there would be no discussion and would be a vote as to that.
I second it.
So there's no vote on, or any discussion, there's no discussion, and you would go immediately to a vote to whether or not you're going to table this.
Commissioner Bojo?
Yes.
Brock?
Yes.
Cochran?
Yes.
Beeman?
Yes.
Dawes?
Yes.
Quick?
Yes.
Collins? Robinson?
yes.
Now table.
Second item is alcohol sales ordinance amendment.
Mine? Go ahead.
This proposal is an amendment to the alcohol ordinance, and it involves the qualifications to receive a City of Rome alcohol sales permit. These permits are required of anyone who works as a server in a pouring establishment, beer, wine, or liquor, and the folks that work in liquor stores. It does not apply to people who work in beer and wine package sales, grocery stores, Walmarts, drugstores, convenience stores. That's always been the case. So the change that's being proposed is that in order to receive one of these permits, you have to meet certain qualifications. And among those are not having a felony conviction, and there's more definition about that. But the specific proposal tonight is to require that if someone has a conviction of furnishing alcohol to a minor, that they not be able to receive a alcohol sales permit for 5 years. Currently, the ordinance specifies that in order to be disqualified, you have to have had being convicted of the offense of furnishing alcohol to a minor twice within a year. I'm not aware of anyone ever getting 2 within 1 year. So a pretty big change in the fact that it makes it more strict, takes a harder view of furnishing alcohol to a minor. So that's the proposal that's before you all tonight for adoption.
We will need a motion to approve that.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve it as presented.
I second it.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Bojo?
Yes.
Brock?
Yes.
Cochran?
Yes.
Beeman?
Yes.
Dawes?
Yes.
Quick?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
We have nothing continued on first reading. We have no public hearings. Mr. Clerk, do you have anything?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have one item tonight that would require some action for us to move forward, and this involves Unity Point Park, which is located at the confluence of the Oostenaula and Etowah rivers in our downtown. And so this area has fallen into disrepair. And you may recall, we had a 2013 SPLOST project that was in the amount of $1.8 million for us to go down and shore this area up and beautify this area. And so there's a lot of moving parts. And we've had a CTI engineering group working with us, and they have helped us secure the necessary environmental permits. And so as you heard earlier in caucus with Mary Harden, Thornton's presentation, and Stephen with Limestone Valley, we have made a lot of progress. We've got an agreement with the adjacent property owner that will allow us to move forward with construction. And so we opened bids, and Triscapes LLC out of Cumming, Georgia, is the low bidder in the amount of $1,388,538.43. And so, again, we've got SPLOST money in the bank to fund this, and we were also successful in getting another $400,000 from some of the Section 319 stormwater money. And so we're good on budget, but we would certainly love to get going on this project. We anticipate the contractor would mobilize within 10 days, and they've got a 180-day deadline to complete the project. And so for us to move this and sign a notice of award, I would need approval here tonight, and happy to answer any questions.
Have a motion, need a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Have any of the commissioners seen the design?
Sorry?
Have any of the commissioners seen the design for Unity Point? You have? What is it exactly?
Well, as.
Yes.
Like to
Yeah, so we could ask Mr. Bentico to go to the podium. Thank you.
Stephen Bonica with Limestone Valley RC&D. So basically, we took the original site design, which encompasses a sewer siphon box. So we do have critical infrastructure that we're working around, as well as the bridge pylons for the walking trail, and gave high priority to those, working around those. We eliminated the majority of the hardscaping, keeping only the hardscaping that was needed in order to protect that critical infrastructure. Working inside of our FEMA permit for a no-rise, as we have limitations with the river, et cetera. We are going to have we're going to have hardscaping up top, and then we will have a bioswale instead of a retaining wall And so what this will do is we'll have rain gardens that will be draining to a bioswale, allowing any surface runoff to move off of the site in a natural way. It's actually designed from the stormwater erosion control man. I'm not used to having a microphone. I'm used to just being loud. So basically we took proven best management practices, overlaid them on top of each other. So we have multiple rain gardens, which are infiltration basins, which catch stormwater runoff off of the impervious surfaces, parking lots, etc. They help it slow down. As those basins fill up, they overflow into the next rain garden. You and I are going to look at this and say, wow, that's great landscaping. From an engineering standpoint, which I picked up at caucus, you may have a background in.
Arguable.
So these rain gardens, from an engineering standpoint, are infiltration basins. They're catching the water, they're holding it in organic matter, which organic matter holds 8 grams of water for every gram that's out there, so we want organic matter. We can get real sciencey on it, but the point is we're going to have pretty flowers and plants, trees and bushes. They're going to be doing the hard work of catching our surface runoff, slowing it down before it ever hits the banks, which will have rock. And then on top of the rock, we'll have, in the floodway, the primary erosion factor there, where it looks really kind of nasty right now from erosion and people walking down it. So I'll back up. Next to the bioswale, we're going to have an ADA accessible permeable grid, which will allow you to roll or walk down for observation, because it's a beautiful part of the city where you can look through the confluence. There's a lot of, we have the history folks here today. We're looking forward to involving the history folks. We're going to have some educational signage up at the siphon box hardscaping area at the top, which we want to call out the history of the city, the history of the point, the environmental benefits of the river. And so there's a lot of factors going into it there. ADA railing, which will have a art installation on it. Part of that Clean Water Act grant was to do public education, and so we're going to integrate a public art aspect on the ADA railing so that we can tell a little bit more of the story of the river, the story of the history of the city in this point. From there down, we're going to have that rock armoring, which will have topsoil on top of it. And then plantings with trees, bushes. We have a full architectural, landscape architect drawing that calls out the trees, bushes, etc., which are all native trees and bushes specifically acclimated to riparian ways.
Can you touch the river?
So I'll back up and say, from the point right there,
Yes.
there will be trees and bushes between you and the river. However, there will be access. Originally, the plan had a canoe launch. So our SPLOST, I'm going to turn to Dylan there, our SPLOST budget has a sizable allotment left. And so where we have, I call them the baptismal stairs, but I don't know what they're actually called. Just upriver on the Oostanala.
Sure, I'm with you.
I'm Presbyterian, so we would sprinkle there, but I was raised Baptist, so it just makes sense. But that being said, we want to dedicate a location, and that location would be where we would want to have good access, one, so it's safe, and two, to reduce the erosion. A lot of the erosion that's happening on the site right now is pedestrian caused, and so in the site consideration, we gave consideration first to public safety, second to aesthetic. Well, maybe I won't prioritize them, but I'll say we want to maintain the site in the safest way possible while keeping aesthetics and reducing long-term maintenance. And so, yes, the river will be touchable, but there'll be areas that are appropriate for touching and areas that aren't appropriate for touching.
Okay.
And so with the money that we've saved, I have proposed and have talked with the project management and finance department about looking forward to bringing the canoe launch back to the project, but repurposing the stairway into the river, no matter your denomination or affiliation, and converting that into a canoe launch and what I'll call a splash zone. One, the city will save money in doing that because it's already access. But two, it will also provide entry point for or an exit point for EMS. In the event that there's an emergency on the river, we want to have that as a known dedicated access point that somebody can call 911 and say, I'm at this site, and the jet boat, the fire department is able to extract an individual, have ambulatory services right there. So multiple factors go into the considerations of the design.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would, just as a side note, when I design things for other communities and cities, there are always elected officials involved in every single step of the design. And that is something that we don't actually practice here, unfortunately. And so I would just encourage the administration to take a hard look at that and reconsider their position on it. But the design sounds amazing and very lovely. So I'm looking forward to seeing
the original design, when they asked me to get involved, I took it, and I know this is going to be shocking, but I asked him if I could get a little charismatic.
Sure, I hope so.
I went to Lee University, so it's, Church of God. It's a little charismatic in and of itself. And I took the plans and threw them at the river. And I said, I think we need a redesign. And that's when we went to best management practices, the Blue Book, and said, let's use proven Georgia standards. Let's integrate them into a floodway design. But I would welcome, any commission commentary or involvement in the baptismal stair edition.
Commissioner Doss?
I'm also a Presbyterian. You gave us another good reason to visit the Oostenaula River, so thank you. I have some close friends. Years ago, they conducted their marriage ceremony at Unity Point, and it was a perfect day. The weather, everything was a beautiful sight. It was a glorious time, except there was a bad odor. And I hope that odor is eliminated.
So I might look around for John. I will say, there will still be a siphon box there. That's critical infrastructure for downtown sewer movement. We'll just leave it at that. But that is going to be, we are upgrading the hatches there. And I turned to John and said, hey, we're going to do our best to make sure it's the most pleasant and enjoyable place to be. There may be factors outside our control, but we're going to upgrade those hatches, do our best to make sure that that infrastructure does its job and that the site is as enjoyable to be in. We're actually planning to come in over top of those hatches that are currently there with, as I mentioned, some signage that the Public Works Department, Water and Sewer, they'll be able to come in and actually remove that signage if they need to access their hatches. But otherwise, on a daily basis, we eliminate trip hazards and any other obstacles that might be there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion?
How much is SPOS money do we have for this?
We've got about 1.4 million and then another 400,000 from the 319 funds.
We have I believe we have closer to 1.8. Forgive me, I haven't looked at the books, but I think we have a little bit more than that, and then the 400,000. So we're well covered with our 1.388 is our bid, and we're well covered with sizable margin.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, if you will, call the roll.
Sir. Commissioner Bojo?
Yes.
Brock?
Yes.
Cochran?
Yes.
Beeman?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Quick?
Yes.
Collins? Yes. Robinson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Attorney?
Or, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Under my time, the Rome Florida Development Authority will meet on Tuesday, August 20th at 9 a.m. at the Manus Building, 800 Broad Street. And now Commissioner Bojo.
I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Brock? No report. Commissioner Cochran?
Preservation Committee will meet Wednesday, August the 21st at 2:30 p.m. in these chambers.
Commissioner Beeman?
Mr. Mayor, under my report, the Library Board will meet on Thursday, August the 15th at 4 o'clock p.m. at the Sarah Hightower Regional Library. And up under the Solid Waste Commission, there is on the floor 2 approvals for the first quarter of the recycling shortfall, the City of Rome recycling deficit for January through March, and the Solid Waste Commission recycling deficit for January through March 2024. And, Mr. Manager, would you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And you guys may recall that we typically bring these to you all because we split the cost to operate the recycle center. And so it's actually a three-way split. And so for first quarter, $47,816.17. And so City of Rome, Floyd County, and then the Solid Waste Commission. And so for us tonight, 2 of those, City and then Solid Waste Commission. And then for second quarter is $16,733.03 per entity.
So, do we need a motion to approve this?
That would be ideal if we could do that in one swooping motion to do both quarters.
Okay, I move that we approve the first quarter and second quarter shortfalls.
Okay, have a motion and second. Any discussion?
Just a quick comment that recycling is the right thing to do, but it is expensive. And so we have to keep in mind, is it worth it or not? And I say it's worth it, but there has to be sort of a limit to all things. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Bojo,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Beeman,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Is that all, Commissioner Beeman?
Yes, Mr. Manager.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, that concludes my report.
Commissioner Doss?
Thank you, Mayor. Under my time, the Public Works, Traffic, Transit, and Trails Committee, scheduled for Wednesday, the 14th, this August the 14th, has been canceled. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Quick?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Collins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Northwest Georgia Regional Commission will meet August 15th at the Civic Center at 11 a.m. Parks and Rec will follow that up on the 20th at 12 p.m. at the Shorter Avenue main office. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson?
Mr. Mayor, I have the ACC, we have a meeting Monday, August the 19th at 5 p.m. right here in Commission Chambers. Everyone's invited. And we'll also have a variance request on Elevation Cigar House that is brought forward tonight that do we need to discuss anything or?
Well, I think we need to at least summarize. Of course, you know, most of y'all know the Alcohol Control Commission did hear the variance request for Elevation Cigar House. Heard from Mr. Scott earlier tonight. Basically, his request is to use cigars and other premium tobacco products and accessories in lieu of food to meet Rome's 50-50 ratio requirement. Currently, we have 2 variances active, both in downtown Rome. Mr. Scott would be the third. The proposed small bar ordinance, which was tabled, did eliminate variances, but that was not adopted, so variance options are still in our ordinance, so you all can act on this tonight. And again, the ACC did recommend approval of that variance.
Mr. Mayor, since we already have an example of the exact same type business, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this request from Elevated Cigar House. Approve the variance.
As we have a motion, need a second?
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do have something to say that when we approved the first variance 20 years ago, I'm not sure it was the right thing to use something other than food in our food-drink ratio. But we did approve it. And we haven't had any problems from the business. But I do think to continue approving these variances is, in my opinion, not good government. And so that's my opinion. Thank you.
Commissioner Robinson, if I could just ask a question. The small bar ordinance that will go back to Alcohol Control Commission, that, do you assume that that will be brought back to the city commission?
Yes, it will.
Is it your understanding that the changes that will be made in terms of square footage, or?
Yeah,
I don't, you don't have to tell the secrets, but.
there are no secrets. Square footage will be looked at, the ratios will be looked at, the hours will be looked at, the amount or the number of potential small bars will be looked at within a certain area. You know, we can put pretty much any kind of parameter in there that we want, I assume, Mr. Attorney. We can put pretty much any parameter in there that we want. And so we got into this too quickly, I think, in order to vote on it tonight based on the discussions that we've had over the last couple of weeks, that we need to fine tune this and find a method of enforcing things that take place on downtown streets and all. So that's all part of the discussions going forward. And then we will take it back to the ACC and then massage it and then bring it back to the commission.
Any other discussion?
I got a question. Will, if they're gonna have food trucks there, will that food be added and count towards that 50-50 ratio? Going
forward, or?
At this point.
Right now, it is still utilized as a ratio.
But I'm just saying that if the intent is for the tobacco, will the food be added to it?
My opinion is, yes, food is allowed, so food would be added to his other various items.
I'm just making sure that the benefit of that is if you are coming up short with your tobacco sales, your food truck, that food can offset some of that.
Offset some of it, yes.
Make sure you meet your ratio. That's what I want to clarify.
I don't know of a reason why that couldn't be counted.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I have a question for the city attorney, Mr. Mayor. Just want to make sure you had your microphone on. This variance stays at the location of the building, right?
It does.
It doesn't move. They can't sell it. They can't transfer it. If they move to a different location, the variance is null and void.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Which is the same for the previous two variances. And following this, I will go ahead and say that from the city attorney's office, we would recommend that you all, after you've concluded this, that you follow Commissioner Doss's advice and put a moratorium on variances.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bojo?
No.
Rock?
Yes.
Cochran?
Yes.
Beeman?
Yes.
Dawes?
Yes.
Quick?
Yes.
Collins?
Aye.
Robinson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Small bar,
We tabled that, yes, and that's all the announcements I have.
if there's no